DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks, and you're watching NORBCam.
What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you via StreamYard, trying the new streaming platform for the first time. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything works out today. For another edition of the NorbCam Roundtable. This is a little bit of an unusual roundtable because the roundtable is really small today. Several members have things going on, unable to make it for different reasons, but we will get the show going on regardless. And because the show must go on, so we are going to talk about a few questions. Some of them I've taken directly from you guys. You guys submitted some questions. I asked for questions on a post on YouTube and said, what do you guys want to hear us talk about on the roundtable? And I'm going to bring up a few of those questions, and we're going to talk about them today. So before we get into it, just want to quickly remind everybody, I'd love if you guys would smash that like button up there, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell. It would be a huge help to the channel. And I want to, as always, thank the NorbFam members like the MVPs Nick LeBeau, Jesse Duckface, Anthony D, Ryker Rockstar, Lori Cross, and the All-Pros Jason E, Maria Maraj, NINJA-CRK, Aidan, Pham, BJ, IBeDave Jones, and Football J. So let's get into it right here. Let me get my one member of the roundtable today. There he is, Steezy A. Smith, who has been tearing it up on YouTube. I'm so proud of this guy, man, but he is doing so much good work, covering not just Seahawks, but basketball, NBA, and everything else, and things really going well. So, Steezy, I'm glad you could be the lone wolf, the lone member here on the roundtable. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm feeling wonderful, feeling good. Sun's out, and so I'm feeling even better because of that. But always a pleasure being on Norb, even if it's just us.
Hey, it's been a while since I don't know if we've ever done just a one-on-one roundtable, but hey, it works. So tell everybody what do you got going on your channel? I mean, things have been really blowing up for you. I know you guys are monetized. You had a couple of videos that really hit big. In fact, one of the videos is a question somebody mentioned about Tamarion Terry wants to kind of hear about our expectations on him, and you did a great video on that one that's really got some traction. So what else you got going on that's new or upcoming on the channel that people should know about?
Thank you, brother. I would like to announce this real quick that we are going to introduce memberships very, very, very soon. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'm dropping a reaction video, Julio Jones to the Tennessee Titans. Does that mean that they're contenders or are they pretenders? More on that. Manny Pacquiao, Errol Spence, that fight's coming up in a couple months. For all my boxing fans out there, Manny Pacquiao fans out there, that'll be coming very, very soon. And then just a whole bunch of NBA playoff videos. What's next for the Lakers? What's next for the Blazers? What's next for the Mavericks and Luka Doncic and whatnot? And so expect a whole lot of stuff. I've been using other platforms such as Twitter more, TikTok. And so if you guys have any of those accounts and aren't already following me, definitely go do that for me, please. But thank you, Norm.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So we'll definitely be looking for your expanding into the membership side of things and all the other videos that you got going on. So we're going to kind of spoil the video that you've got going because one of the big questions people had is related to the Julio Jones trade. So we'll get to that in just a second. But one of the first things as I had in the title was Jamal Adams not being at OTAs. Of course, the good news is we have Russell Wilson there. It seems like all the Russell Wilson controversy has pretty much died down as far as that's all concerned since he is there with the team practicing. Can't be said about the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, but we have our own missing guy, Jamal Adams. So I want to get your take on that. Is this something you think that we should be concerned about as far as we know he's got a contract that needs to get done. The Seahawks have got to get it worked out. We gave up the farm to bring this guy on, and he didn't disappoint in terms of what he did last year. But the long term, I think, is what's in the future, and the Seahawks have said so much. But what do you think? Do you feel like this is just simply part of the process of him not going to put his body at risk with a contract extension not in hand yet? Or, how worried should Seahawks fans be with the fact that he's not there with the rest of his teammates?
Seahawks fans shouldn't be worried at all. This was a couple of months ago, but I did drop a video explaining why Seahawks fans shouldn't worry about Jamal Adams and his contract extension. For one, if we're talking about his absence, then if I remember correctly, he is still coming off surgery, or at least still recovering from surgery. So who knows? Maybe he just needs a little bit of extra rest. Maybe he doesn't want to put his body on the line just because he's still maybe recovering. But as far as the contract extension goes, I have no doubt in my mind that'll get done sooner rather than later. The Seahawks usually have a history of not really extending guys until the very end of training camps and going into August, going into the preseason. And so I don't see why they're going to, move on from that. They know what they traded for when they got Jamal Adams, 2 first-round picks, a third-rounder, a starting safety. And so they knew what it was going to cost to re-sign him. I don't think that this is the Seahawks contemplating whether or not they should re-sign him. I think it's just a matter of when, not really if.
So you mentioned the cost to keep him. What do you think is going to be the price that it's going to take to keep him happy and here? I'm hearing 18 to 20 million. What do you think is going to be the magic number that it's going to take for the Seahawks to keep Jamal Adams here, get him to sign on the dotted line, and hopefully keep him here as a Seahawk for a long time?
I think, that's right on the money. I think anywhere from 17 to 20 million. When we look at some of the highest paid safeties in the game, I think that goes to Budda Baker in terms of average annual value, and he's currently the highest paid at about $15.5 million. Or no, excuse me, Justin Simmons of the Denver Broncos. He recently set the bar even higher for safeties, and so that's at $15.5 million. I'm thinking that Jamal Adams doesn't want to just reset the market for safeties because he classifies himself as a defensive weapon, and so maybe blow the safety market by about 3 to 4 million. So let's say 18.5 to 19.5, but just a shade under 20, if not at 20. I think that'd be a perfect number. He does bring a little bit more to the table in terms of being a pass rusher, and I know he was exposed in coverage a lot last year, but he was playing through injuries. He didn't have an offseason with Seattle. He was still readjusting and didn't have any chemistry with his teammates. And so there are a lot of factors that went into that. But I think that, anywhere between 18 and 20 mil, maybe even as low as 17 mil, I think those are perfect numbers in terms of Jamal's next contract.
So, I think we as Seahawks fans just have to relax, right? We've been through this before where we had to hold our breath wondering, what's happening with this? It seemed like this is just the MO of the Seahawks to, like you said, wait until the right time. And we still have time, right? It's not like this is the beginning of the season. He hasn't signed yet, so he's not going to be holding out. We still got him for this year. So there's time. I'm sure they'll get things done in due time. But hopefully it'll be done sooner than later. So let's talk. There's a question that many are asking. This particularly was requested by NINJA-CRK, one of the NorbFAM members. I appreciate you, man. So he wants to know, what's our reaction with Julio Jones going to the Titans? And I know you're going to talk about this in depth on your channel, but I'm going to spoil it here. You can do a little teaser on what you're going to talk about there. But what was your thoughts, I guess, before the trade went down? Were you hoping, or was it realistic that you thought he might come to Seattle? And then once he went to the Titans, I guess your reaction in terms of what that meant. But overall, what was your feeling on all the trade rumors and then finally what went down?
So starting off with the rumors of him potentially being traded to Seattle, I actually dropped another video about that. It was titled, "How Realistic is a Julio Jones Trade to the Seattle Seahawks?" And this might come off as a vague answer, but I didn't think it was super realistic, but I also thought that it was a little bit more realistic than people expected. Definitely I was going to root for Julio being traded to the Seahawks. I mean, anything to make our team better, but obviously it depends on the price. And so if the price was to take on, the full guarantees of his contract or the full remainder of his contract on top of a second-round pick, maybe even a first-round pick, then I'm not too sure if I would have paid that price. But as far as Julio being traded to the Tennessee Titans, I love it for the Titans. Now, I'm not sure if that elevates them to automatic AFC contenders, just because I don't think that Julio Jones takes them over the top of the Chiefs. I'm not sure if his presence even makes them better than the Bills or the Browns, maybe not even the Ravens. And so I think what it does is it vaults them to the top of the AFC South without a doubt. I think this definitely makes them better than the Indianapolis Colts. I think that with the Tennessee Titans having made the 2019 AFC Championship game just a couple of years ago, I mean, they definitely have that ceiling. Obviously, their defense is still a problem, but when you look at the pass rush, that abysmal pass rush that they had last season, I don't think it gets any worse than that. I mean, 19 sacks throughout the duration of an entire season, it doesn't get any worse than that. They have nowhere to go but up, and so you would think that there should be improvement on the defensive side of the football. On offense, they did lose offensive coordinator Arthur Smith to the Atlanta Falcons, and so under him, Ryan Tannehill has been a revelation. And so who knows how Ryan Tannehill is going to perform without Arthur Smith, but he does have Derrick Henry, the game's best running back. He has the best wide receiver duo. And yes, they did take that crown from DK and Tyler, but I mean, a dynamic duo of A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. I think physically, they're the most physically intimidating team in the NFL, and they're going to wreak havoc. It's just a matter of them establishing and developing chemistry, that rapport between Tannehill and Julio, and then whether or not that defense is going to take a step forward rather than backward.
Do you think how much do you think Julio Jones has left in the tank? Is he past his prime? Is he still going to be as productive as he's been in the past, or do you feel like this is a receiver who's kind of more on the downside of his career, and maybe that's why he didn't get more in terms of value? I mean, they took the entire salary off the books for the Falcons, which is good for them. But in terms of trades, they didn't have to give up anything bigger than, wasn't it a second round pick that they had to give from? Second or fourth, I think. Yeah, so not first round material. I mean, he is 32 years old now. So, I guess from a standpoint of how good do you think he really will be, and how much difference can he make at his age? Is he still as good as he was, or does it seem like he's had more injury issues too? So is he going to be the receiver that can do what he's done with the Falcons for so long?
Almost definitely. He's 32 years old. He's missed time with injuries, but you look back to the 7 games that he played last season. 3 of those games, he had games of 150-plus yards. 2 of those games, he had 90-plus receiving yards. And last season, he actually averaged a career-high 15 yards per catch. Or it wasn't a career high, but I think in terms of I'm messing the statistic up, but it was something along those lines. I think it was in terms of something along those lines. He set a career high. And yeah, while he might be 32 years old, I don't think he's missed more than 3 games in the season since 2013. He'll have a couple of nagging injuries here and there on a year-to-year basis, but it's not like he's a lock to miss 4, 5, 6 games. I mean, it was really just last year in which he missed about half the season. I still think he has plenty left in the tank. You think about him going to the Tennessee Titans, he doesn't have to be the guy doing all the heavy lifting. He has an A.J. Brown who's a superstar wide receiver. He has a Derrick Henry who's going to be commanding 8, 9-man boxes, and so he's going to see a whole lot of single high coverage. He's going to see a whole lot of single coverage, not a whole lot of double coverage, which he was getting a lot of in Atlanta. He's getting a quarterback in Ryan Tannehill, who's one of the most efficient and best deep ball throwers in all the NFL. I still think that while he might not be in decline, we're not going to see those 1,800-yard seasons anymore, but I definitely don't think that he's out of his prime. I still think that he has a lot of good years left, and that's why I wouldn't have minded if he was traded to Seattle, just because I don't think he's on the decline like everybody else is saying. I still think he has a couple more years of high-end production, and some of the games that I saw last year showed that.
I'm glad he didn't end up going to the 49ers, because I know there's a lot of talk about the Niners picking him up, and then with a new quarterback situation, and then if 49ers being healthy and adding that to their weapons and their arsenal, that would have been scary. However, we do face the Titans in week 2 of this year, so that trade, while it doesn't involve anybody in the NFC, it does go into an AFC opponent who we will be facing and will have an impact on our season this year. Does this concern you in terms of? I'm not sure what your feeling was as far as Seattle and what the result of what you thought Seattle against the Titans game was going to be. I know we did our prediction video a few weeks ago, and I can't remember did you have us beating the Titans in that prediction? Does that change your mind, or do you still have us beating the Titans in week 2?
I mean, this game is at home, and I'm still going to have us coming out on top. I know that while they might have a field day against our secondary, I still think that it is going to take time for them to establish chemistry, especially Ryan Tannehill and Julio Jones. They have to be able to develop that rapport. And I think come week 2, they're not going to necessarily have that. And so they might be able to pile on the stats, but they won't have the chemistry. And so I think that we'll still come out on top. But it'll definitely make the game a lot more interesting, just because when you look at the question marks revolving the Seahawks, it's with our secondary, and now we're going up against the best wide receiver duo in the NFL in those 2. So just in terms of a raw talent perspective, they might be able to do some things statistically, but we'll see what the chemistry is by then.
All right, so we're going to move on to our next question. This one is from Bashar Ramoun. He says, do you think Russell Wilson has enough weapons, and do you think our defense is that good from what we saw last year, enough to win a Super Bowl? I guess that's kind of a 2-part question, but it kind of ties into the Julio Jones thing, because as much as I'm with you, it would have been nice to have him, but I didn't feel like we needed to, because I'm pretty excited about our receiving core. And really, DK is our next closest thing to an up-and-coming Julio Jones, right? If he can really refine his techniques and work on a few of those things that, he's needed to over the last couple of years, he can be just as good as, or better than, I think, Julio Jones. But what do you think about, I guess the first part is the weapons. You've talked a lot about Tamarian Terry, or we've talked about Dwayne Eskridge. Do you feel like we have the weapons offensively now, and the tight ends, the whole package, to get to a Super Bowl? And then I guess defense as well. But let's talk about the offense. Do you feel like Russell Wilson has enough weapons to do what they need for the offense to at least put us in a position to get to a Super Bowl?
You can never have too many weapons, and while I do think that the weapons that the Seahawks currently have are adequate, it can still get better. But to answer the question, I'm going to say yes, just because when you have a top 5 quarterback who has a top 3 wide receiver duo in the NFL, that speaks a lot just in and of itself, just by itself. And so you add a guy like Dwayne Eskridge, Tamarian Terry, Cade Johnson, who I just dropped a video on a couple of days ago about how he could be the next Doug Baldwin, maybe even the next Tyler Lockett. Now they do have to make the roster first, but I think that the chances of them making the roster are very, very high, just because last season, after DK and Tyler, we didn't have too many receivers. I know David Moore was our third guy. He did have 6 touchdowns, but I just never really thought he was the best third option for a Super Bowl winning team. I do think that we upgraded in that regard. Dwayne Eskridge, he's going to bring a lot of what Shane Waldron is looking for in his wide receivers. He's going to be a guy that can handle the rock in space. He's blazing fast. You can give him the ball on the screen. He can take it to the house. He can contribute on special teams. I think that he's the perfect wide receiver 3 for the system. Shane Waldron is going to try out a whole bunch of wide receiver 3, or a lot of 3 wide sets, excuse me. We upgraded our tight end, Gerald Everett. I still think that he has a lot of untapped potential, and he did follow Shane Waldron to Seattle, and so I still think that his best days are in front of him. Will Dissly, he did have somewhat of a down year last year, but keep in mind he was coming off a torn Achilles, and so hopefully with that fully behind him and him being a young player in this league, hopefully he still has some more development. Yeah, and I like some of the other guys that we have. John Ursua, obviously he still has to make the roster, but Penny Hart. We have some intriguing pieces, so I definitely think that we have the pieces for Russell Wilson to really explode.
So let's talk about the defensive side, because I feel pretty good about the offense, to be honest with you. Even our offensive line, I feel like they've done enough to where if they can run this new offense that Shane Waldron is cooking up, I'm really excited about what they can do. Defensively, that's the part I'm a little more nervous about, and I think they're still talking about. I've seen some articles out there saying that the secondary is the biggest question mark for Seattle. Do we have enough? We might be able to score enough points on the offense, but can our defense hold enough where if our offense could score this much, the defense is going to need to hold other teams to that? Do we have enough to where we can keep opponents just below what our offense can produce? What do you think? Is our defense good enough? We may not be the 2013 defense, maybe not even close, but I don't know. Pass rush is pretty good, but the corner secondary is definitely not the LOB. Well, how does that go hand in hand? What do you think?
There's definitely a lot for some of our younger guys in the secondary to prove. If Ahkello Witherspoon pans out, then yes, we have enough. If DJ Reed continues to play like he did in the second half of last season, then yes, we do have enough. If Trey Brown can build off the success that he had in college, then we do have enough. But as it stands right now, defensively, I don't think we do. But I will be holding a lot of faith in our pass rush, just because a great pass rush does make your secondary better. If your guys are getting after the quarterback, if they're making it hard for the quarterback to have time to even throw to his receivers, that makes life a lot easier for guys on the outside. And so maybe that's why Seattle is content with the depth that they have at secondary, with the guys that they have in the secondary, just because they're so confident in their pass rush, in which I definitely believe they have every right to be so. We're always talking about how our pass rush is the most loaded it's been since 2013. And so maybe that's able to mask some of the deficiencies on the back end. Who knows? But I'm still an advocate for Seattle to bring back Richard Sherman. I don't think it's too late to do that. I think that he brings not only a veteran presence, not only leadership, not only a guy who played there before and thrived there before. He just brings more talent to the secondary, which I still believe that we need. Even if all these guys pan out, it doesn't hurt to have a veteran who's been there before, a guy who has that swagger, a guy that can be another leader, another voice. And so as it stands right now, to answer your question, no, but I do think that as the season progresses, we're able to sign a guy like Sherman. If our pass rush is as good as everyone is making it out to be, then yes. But as of right now, no.
I see a lot of people are saying we should make a run for Stephon Gilmore. I've seen that a few times in the chat. Could a player like that, one, is that even feasible given our current situation, cap and such? And two, would that be a good addition? So I guess one, is it even a possibility in your mind? And then two, could it make a difference? Would that put that over the top potentially for the Seahawks defense?
It's definitely feasible. You look at cap space. Yes, the Seahawks don't have too much cap space, but a lack of cap space doesn't stop teams in the NFL from making moves that they want to make. Excuse me. There's always the option of restructuring contracts. There's always the option of trading a guy. There's always the option of releasing a guy. And so, for example, if we were to restructure a Russell Wilson contract, that'd save us north of $10 million. We could restructure a Bobby Wagner. That'd save us north of $7 million. We could extend Jamal. And believe it or not, if we were to extend Jamal Adams this offseason, that would actually save us about $6 to $7 million in cap space. A guy like Quandre Diggs, he has 1 year left on his contract. If we were to extend him, we'd save a couple of million. Dwayne Brown, another guy that we could extend until the end of his career here in Seattle. And so there's a lot of options to go about. In terms of draft pick compensation, I think that all it would take is a second or a third rounder to get a Stephon Gilmore. And to answer the second part of that question, yes, I feel like trading for a Stephon Gilmore, who just won Defensive Player of the Year 2 seasons ago, would instantly put us at the top or at the forefront of most, or if not every Super Bowl conversation, just because I think that, like I said earlier, the missing link isn't our secondary. And so you add a guy like Stephon Gilmore. He is coming off a down year where he was injured, but I mean, let's not forget Defensive Player of the Year, and cornerbacks don't usually win that award. And so to have a guy like Stephon Gilmore, that'd be absolutely tremendous. It's most definitely feasible. I guess need to see him available. I know the Patriots were looking to trade him at the deadline, but I haven't really heard anything at all this entire offseason. So let's just see. I hope the Seahawks do make this move if he's available.
That's a big question. Will he be available? Who is it? Truly Green says the Pats ain't giving up Gilmore. So I don't know if he can't be given up. It seems like anybody can be given up at the right price. The question is, would Seattle be willing to give up that at the right price? But it does seem like the secondary is the biggest question. But that pass rush could help. If the pass rush is as good as we hope it will be, that might take the pressure off the secondary, and maybe they don't need to be the LOB 2.0 in order to be good enough to allow the Seahawks offense. Again, all we got to do is be this much better than if the offense is here, the defense just have to keep the points from the opponent to here. It doesn't have to be dominating, just enough. But that is the big question. Will that be enough? So we'll find out in time. Let's see. Let's go to the next question here. Brandon B. It kind of ties into what we're already talking about, but Brandon B. asks, what free agent would you like the Seahawks to sign? Now, you've already mentioned a few. You mentioned Gilmore. You mentioned Richard Sherman. But is there like a number one guy, maybe one of those you've already named, or is there somebody else who, if you could just wave a wand and say, talk to the GM and say, yo, John, you need to get this guy. Here's who would you really need. Who would that be?
So I'm actually dropping another video about this particular player. He was actually Carlos Dunlap's former teammate in Cincinnati. Before Aaron Donald, he was the Aaron Donald of the NFL. I'm talking about defensive tackle Geno Atkins, who used to play for the Bengals, currently a free agent. He is recovering from, if I'm not mistaken, bicep surgery. But if reports are true, then he will be cleared by July 1st. And so look for July 1st or anywhere in the first week of July to be the target date in which he signs for a team. I think aside from secondary, I think in the trenches, we need more depth in the trenches, specifically at defensive tackle. And I think that Geno Atkins would fill that role to perfection. He still provides a lot of value as a pass rusher, as a run stuffer. Not only that, like I said earlier, he was a former teammate of Carlos Dunlap. And so Carlos Dunlap can most definitely attest to the culture in Seattle. He could talk and convince Geno Atkins just how great of a place it is to play in Seattle, how great of a defense or how great the potential of this defense could possibly be if everything plays out, if everything is aligned. I think that Geno Atkins would be the perfect target for a guy like for a team like the Seahawks, just because apart from the secondary, depth in the trenches is much needed.
I want to say a quick shout out to, and thanks to Sports Live and the ATL, David, who made an appearance on my show just before this one, talking about the Julio Jones trade from a Falcons fan perspective. Obviously not happy to see one of his favorite guys go, but as you know, that is the way the business is. Anish Anand just asked, will Wilson break the single season touchdown record with the new 18-week NFL season? That's an easy yes or no question. I can say easy. It's easy to pick a yes or a no. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, that is one more game. That means it's going to be potentially another 300 yards added to that potential record that he could have if it was only 16 games. And now we're talking about this new offense, new weapons. What do you think? Does he break it, especially with this additional game? I say yes. What do you think?
Nah. I mean, look, Peyton Manning set the record a couple years back with 55. And so Russell Wilson's career high is 40. Or if we're talking about total touchdowns, or are we talking about just passing touchdowns?
Well, the question is, will he break the single season touchdown record? So I guess it would be the 55 you're talking about. I know it's a lot, but I guess we won't know until we really see what this offense looks like. Is it going to be high scoring, or is it just going to be high efficiency? We don't know yet what it's going to look like, but we do have one extra game to add to the total.
See, look, I wouldn't be a huge advocate of that, just because if he was to have that many touchdowns, that would imply that Seattle was more heavily reliant on an aerial attack or on passing the football. This will bring us back to the let Russ cook days. And while I did see a lot of good things when Russ was cooking, I'm not sure if that's the best strategy moving forward, especially throughout the course of an entire season. So I'm going to say no, and I wouldn't actually want for Russ to break this.
Unless he throws a lot of short yardage touchdowns from like the 3-yard line, and they just have all these quick crossing routes, and maybe instead of running it in, he ends up doing these little short passes. Doesn't have to mean they have to be 50-yard bombs. So I guess we will see. We really don't know what this offense is going to look like, but either way, hopefully it's not because as more attempts means more potential interceptions, which we don't want to see. We saw enough of that last year, exactly. So and more sacks. So what we do is want more efficient scoring, both on the ground and in the air. So I guess we'll see how that goes. The next question we'll go to is, so Jason Harding says, Colby Parkinson and Tamorrion Terry. I like these guys and would love to hear more about 2021 expectations. I know you dropped a video about Tamorrion Terry and I guess Colby Parkinson. He's going to be part of that tight end crew. I guess talk a little bit about these guys and yeah, what do you think might be the contribution by them in 2021?
I think contributions from both are going to be very minimal, if even that. Colby Parkinson, I like his potential. I like his size. I like what he brings to the table. He's going to be another huge red zone target for Seattle. I think he's actually the tallest receiver on the Seahawks roster at 6'7", but his last season in college, he only had 1 touchdown. And so he does have a lot to work on, especially in the red zone. He definitely needs to add on some weight. But I do think that he can fill in from time to time as that third tight end behind Will Dissly and Joe Everett. Apart from running 3 wide, Shane Waldron likes to run 12 personnel. That means 2 tight ends on the football field. And so if Will Dissly and Joe Everett are on the field, then maybe if one of them needs a breather, I'll see Colby Parkinson kind of stepping in. But I just don't see him playing a huge role just because he's buried on the depth chart, barring injury. But I do like his long-term potential and outlook in Seattle. As far as Tamorrion Terry, I'm very, very high on Terry. I do understand that he's not the most technically refined wide receiver, but he did draw a couple of DK Metcalf comparisons entering the NFL draft. I mean, he's a big body. He's 6'3". He's a deep threat. He's blazing fast. He's a big play machine waiting to happen, but he's not a very nuanced route runner. He's very raw. He doesn't have the best hands. His run blocking leaves a little bit to be desired, but I think that from a tools perspective, from a talent perspective, he definitely has a whole bunch of positives in those 2 areas. He just definitely needs to work on route running. He needs to work on just the nuances of being a wide receiver. But overall, like with him, I like his potential. I think that he could provide a few splash plays, given that he makes the roster, of course. But I think that he can kind of fill in as the new Freddie Swain. He kind of filled in, a few times here and there during the course of last season. He had a couple of long touchdowns, and I can kind of see the same for Tamorrion Terry. But I think long term, he brings more value. But right now, he's going to play a very minimal role for Seattle moving forward.
So Steve A. Smith, you guys, is who is our lone member of the Roundtable today. So make sure, again, you subscribe to his channel. His link is in the description. Follow all his social media. He's got great content. One of the best analysts when it comes to Seahawks football and beyond. Does NFL. He's going to be doing boxing. By the way, did you watch that fight over the weekend? The Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight. Did you watch that thing? I didn't watch it. I just kind of read about it later. But what were your quick thoughts on it? I just popped in my head. Just has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today. But what are your thoughts on that? All I know is that some guys made a lot of money. I don't know how much, but heard Logan Paul probably made around $20 million, and Floyd Mayweather probably made around $70 or $80 million. I don't know. They haven't really released official figures, but. Not bad, man. That's what you need to do, Steezy. You need to set up a fight with, Pacquiao or something. Give him $100 million just to keep like $2 million. Yeah, no kidding. What'd you think about that fight? If you watched it, or if you didn't, what was your thoughts on it?
So I actually didn't get to watch it. As soon as I got home from work, they were interviewing Floyd Mayweather, and so I missed it. I wasn't really planning on watching it just because I kind of felt like I knew who was going to win. I didn't expect a whole lot. And from what other people were telling me, I didn't really miss out on anything. There weren't any knockdowns. There weren't any knockouts. There wasn't a winner. I looked at the fight statistics. There weren't that many punches that were landed. And so I don't feel like I missed anything. But as far as the sport of boxing, I think that this is good for the sport of boxing moving forward for all parties involved.
Yeah. It sounded like, to not be too cynical about it, it was a pretty good money grab. They didn't even have a decision. There was no judges, so there wasn't even really a declared winner. I think everybody was just hoping if there was a knockout, that would be the one, whoever did the knocking out would win, and there was no knockout. So everybody just kind of, had a pretty light way of it, but... I guess it's good, like you said, good for the sport. It didn't create a lot of hype, but mostly padding some people's pockets, so lucky suckers. But I'll take a few shots to the head for $20 million. Just go like this. I'll just fake a knockout. Oh, you got me. Where's my $20 million? It's like, was it Leon Spinks and oh God, what was it? The fight lasted like 30 seconds with Mike Tyson. Back in the day, way back in the day, it was like a fight. It was literally like knocked down in the first round, and I think Tyson made $30 million in that fight, and that's small money compared to what this is now. But anyway, that would be something. Steezy against Pacquiao, pay-per-view only. Oh man, yeah. The Filipino battle. All right. Let's see. Let's go to another question here. So Rishi, who's actually provided the trivia that we're going to do at the end, that we're going to be doing very soon here. And I can already say that without any doubt, you will be the clear winner in this trivia contest. No doubt, Steezy, you're going to win. I have a good feeling about that. Unless you get negative numbers. So Rishi wants to know, what are thoughts on the new Seahawks jersey numbers, like Witherspoon wearing number 2, Dunlap wearing 8, Diggs wearing number 6, etc. Kind of a different thing here, What do you think? What's your thoughts? Don't care, kind of cool, don't like it? What's your thoughts?
As you might know, I'm very pro-friendly, or I'm pro-player. Excuse me,
player friendly.
Player friendly. And so if it benefits the players, if the players are excited and happy about it, then I'm all for it. I think that while Tom Brady did make a good point, he was very furious about it. He was actually talking about how it's going to ruin a lot of things for a lot of players, how it's going to people aren't going to find out about the ramifications until later on. He's talking about how it's going to confuse everybody, but I think that it's good for the players. I mean, I just felt like, even when I played football, I felt like I was restricted. I was like, wow, I got to wear numbers between this and that. I can't wear this or that. Like in all other sports, NBA, MLB, you can wear literally whatever number. As long as another player doesn't have it, then you can wear it. And I understand, football is a little bit different. There's formations. There's a lot more guys on the field. You got to line up here and you got to line up there. There's this group of players. There's this position group. There's that group. There's the kickers. There's the special teams. And I get it. But I think that at the end of the day, as long as your number is different from another player that's on the field, then I think it should be good. And so as long as the players are excited and happy about it, I am too. I think you see a little bit more creativity. You see what kind of numbers guys and other players like. And so I'm all for it. I'm definitely with it.
I think it's kind of fun. It's just something different, to mix it up. And yeah, it'll be kind of weird to see a number, a single digit number on a lineman. We're so used to, but I think that's our sort of traditionalist, aspect that sort of makes you feel like that you're just, these guys should have these numbers, and typically these types of formations, these positions have these numbers. But I think people get used to it. I think that Tom Brady said, "Oh yeah, good luck trying to figure out the blocking." It's like, yeah, if it'll help get to Tom Brady, well then good. I think any smart quarterback is going to figure it out, because they call out their numbers anyway. They call it the number of who they think is going to be the linebacker on the strong side or the weak side. So whatever number, it might be an easier number. Instead of saying 52, you'll just have to say 2 or 3. So it'll actually make it easier. So
maybe a little bit of prep.
Yeah, exactly. So he shouldn't be complaining about it. All right, let's go to Michael Scott had a question. What does everyone think is the biggest reason for the last 8 seasons of the Seahawks not making it back to the Super Bowl? I think it's our 1-0 mentality. By the end of the season, we have shown our entire playbook to all the other teams. What do you think? That's a kind of a broad question that expands over several seasons and different coordinators and personnel. But, why is it, I guess, what is it that's kept Seattle from making the playoffs almost every year, but never quite getting back to the big game? Steezy, I guess. What can you put your finger on what has been the reason that we just couldn't get over the hump?
Man, it's a whole bunch of things, really. It's hard to really pinpoint this or that as the sole reasons as to why Seattle hasn't made it past the divisional round since 2014. But I mean, some of the things that I would like to bring up, I think the lack of an identity. I think some of the friction that was caused by not handing the football off to Marshawn Lynch. I think mentally it kind of just it defeated the locker room, and it kind of alienated guys from a certain guy. It kind of divided the locker room. So I think the first couple of years after our last Super Bowl appearance, that was definitely the main reason, because we had the talent. LOB was still there. Russell Wilson was still there. While Marshawn Lynch was on the decline, I mean, we still had some of those other pieces. And so I think the first couple of years after our last Super Bowl appearance, it was definitely because of the divide. And I think the last couple of seasons, it's been because of lack of an identity. We don't know what we want to do on offense. We're letting Russ cook for the first couple of weeks, and then we're going back to running the football. We didn't know how to play defense. And then the second half of the season, now we're playing defense. We're going after the quarterback. We're blitzing more than ever. And so I definitely got to credit it to a lack of an identity, and definitely just some deficiencies in talent, maybe even lapses in coaching. Our offensive coordinators haven't done the best of jobs throughout the entirety of a season, and keeping playbooks fresh, or in opening up new playbooks, or in expanding the playbook. So definitely a multitude of factors, but those are some of the biggest things that I've kind of pinpointed as to why we haven't gone back to the Super Bowl.
I got to agree with you on, when I talked with Slita about, losing in Super Bowls, because we lost, obviously, Super Bowl 49. He could be looked at as the worst loss, Super Bowl 51, giving up the 28-3 lead. I kind of asked, I said point blank, I said, does the pain of losing that Super Bowl hurt just as much? And he asked me back, what do you think is worse? Do you think he thinks it's worse that they lost the 28-3 lead versus us blowing it at the 1 yard line? I said, there isn't much difference between the two, in my opinion, because it still comes down to, if we just did one thing, we're probably Super Bowl champs. And in Super Bowl 51, they obviously had several things that had to go wrong. But what do you think, man? If you could trade places, not that either one's any better, if you could have been the Falcons in the 28-3 loss or the Super Bowl 49 one, is one of those less painful than the other, in your opinion? If you had to choose one, if you could change fate and have to be one of those two, would you change it?
Wow.
It's a tricky,
question.
It's a lose-lose situation, but maybe less painful. I don't know. What do you think?
I guess I'd rather squander the lead. I mean, just because with the heartbreak, in Seattle, we had it in the bag. Everybody knew, everyone in the world, the whole world knew, as long as you give it to Marshawn Lynch to beast mode, you win. But instead, we went with the complete opposite, and we left with our hearts broken. I think that with Atlanta, Atlanta wasn't even really favored to win the game. They shouldn't have been in that position anyway. And so they were underdogs. I think they overachieved just by even having that lead in the first place. And I know it does hurt to choke a lead, because now you're going to be looked at as a choker. You're going to be looked at as a guy who pretty much choked. And so I don't know. Like you said, it's a lose-lose. I don't even want to touch on or elaborate. I'd rather go with the squandering the lead.
Yeah, well, maybe because we've been so stuck with that Super Bowl 49 loss that we just want to change it and have it not be part of our memory. But yeah, I don't. Hopefully, we'll have something we can talk about that will erase that feeling. But yeah, I was thinking about with the Falcons, the fact that they had a window, and I don't know if that window's closed with the fact that Julio Jones is now leaving, but that window, they had more than one opportunity to get to at least get to a Super Bowl, and obviously to win one. But man, anytime you had that opportunity, just like the Bills of the 1990s, right, when they had 4 chances to win a Super Bowl and couldn't get it. I mean, no window is any bigger than that. You were at the Super Bowl 4 times. That's hard enough to get to it, but to lose all 4, especially one, by a field goal, that's a bad heartbreak. So hopefully, the 2010s is over. We're now in the 2020s, so we had our chance. We got one. But hopefully we can start a new window here and get something done in 2020. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, a lot of optimism with what's going on, but a lot of question marks, at the same time. So let's see. I think we're ready to let's jump into the trivia contest. You ready to do it, man? It's just going to be you. It's just going to be you. But everybody listening, we'll see how they do on it. I know Rishi spent some time putting together a pretty good contest here. So let's pull this sucker up. Let's see if we got here. All right, there we go. All right, there it is. So let's get this started. You guys get ready with your Kahoot apps or Kahoot.com. And I know using StreamYard, the time difference is there's a little bit longer lag. It's like a 10-second lag. So I actually add a little bit of seconds so that to make sure you have enough time to get your questions in or your answers in. So let's see how it goes. Here we go. So here's the number. 613-7922. 613-7922. So jump in with your names. We'll see how many we get in here, and then we'll get things started. Again, if you want to join the contest, 613-7922. And like I said, there's a little bit longer delay. So here we go. We've got here Sky High Aviation, T-Man, Aidan, Pham in there. Let's get the volume up here. There's the volume. Grug, I'm Aaron Yeager. (613-7922). Jump on in. 28-3. Wampet, Zach Crisp. Give you about another 30 seconds or so here. Getting the names are the best part. So I'm going to see a few more. Cameron Hughes, I think earlier was saying, I'm gonna own this trivia. He tells Rishi, we'll see about that, and he does pretty good. Who Dat Saints is in there. DK Metcalf, Wu Tang, Raider Nation. Come on, let's get a few more of you in here. 613-7922. 49ers are fraud. Hey, what are you talking about? We got Go Hawks in there. Let's get a few more in here. 15 seconds to go. Again, the number is 613-7922. Lamis joins the contest. Let's try to get to 20. Let's get 5 more of you guys in here. Russell Wilson. All right, the Coot number I'm going to put in the chat here. 613-7922. Deepak Samasund, Just Run the Ball, Sneaky Snake. Get a couple more, almost to 20. Truly Green says, I'm Who Dat Saints. There we go. Remember when we could get this thing to like 200 participants? Yeah, of course, much of those were bots, but typically we used to get like 30, 40 people. But Rishi says, you're not dethroning me yet. I think that's aimed at Cameron Hughes. I guess you could. Anish Anand. All right, we got 20. All right, let's get this started. Hi is in there. All right, let me wrap this up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, let's go. GB, the GBs. Old dog, new tricks. All right. Trey Lance MVP. A couple more jumping in here. All right, let's start it. Here we go. By Rishi H. Here we go. First question. Number 1. In his career, how many times has Tyler Lockett had at least 10 touchdowns in a season? 3, 2, 1, or 4? In his career, how many times has Tyler Lockett had at least 10 touchdowns in a season? 3, 2, 1, or 4? Again, I'm giving you extended time because the delay is a little bit longer, so I want to make sure you guys have enough. 3, 2, 1, or 4. How many times has Tyler Lockett had at least 10 touchdowns in a season? Time is up. Oh, look at that. Pretty good. 10 of you got that one correct. Let's go to Steezy, the lone wolf. I actually have Brian on here, but Brian's not in here, so we'll take him off the list. It's going to be just Steezy on his own, going for the solo record here. All right, Steez, what did you have?
I said 2. Last season, he had his second 10 touchdown season, and then before that, he actually tied his career high of a couple years ago, which was also 10. So I said 2.
All right, pretty good. All right, let's go to the platform here and see where we run. Right now, we got Just Run the Balls in first, Cameron Hughes in second, who is determined to win this trivia. GB in third, Wampet in fourth, Trey Lance MVP in fifth. All right, next question. Against which team in the 2015 preseason did rookie Tyler Lockett have the most receiving yards against? Denver Broncos, Las Vegas Raiders, Kansas City Chiefs, or the Los Angeles Chargers? And Raiders weren't in Las Vegas at that time, so we just mean the Raiders. Against which team in the 2015 preseason did rookie Tyler Lockett have the most receiving yards against? Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs, or Chargers? 2015 preseason game. Lockett having the most receiving yards against? Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs, or Chargers? Time is up. Okay, I got the Raiders was the correct answer. 6 of you guys got that one correct. Steezy, why did I give you 2? You only got 1 so far. Steezy, what you got?
It's going to remain 1. I was leaning towards the Raiders for a little bit, but then last minute I was just like, I'm going to just go Chargers. It was just a wild guess.
So, it's weird because I do not remember. How often do we remember a preseason game, right? You don't really pay attention to them. I can't remember this game at all. I don't remember if it was here or in Oakland. But, yeah, I do have no memory of this. But for those 6 of you who got that one correct, good on you guys. All right, let's go to the podium. Let's see where the leaderboard. Oh, Cameron Hughes making good on his claim. Moves to number 1, GB in second, Wampet in third, Just Run the Ball in fourth, and Sky High Aviation in fifth place. 28-3, up 6 spots, climbing high in the background. All right, here we go. Next question. What college have the Seahawks drafted the most players from? Miami, Washington, LSU, or Georgia? What college have the Seahawks drafted the most players from? Miami, Washington, LSU, or Georgia? What college had the Seahawks drafted the most players from? Miami, Washington, LSU, or Georgia? Time is up. The correct answer was Miami. 6 of you got that one correct. Let's go to Steez. From the moan I heard on your side, it sounds like you might be sticking at 1. What was your answer?
Just for this round, I said, what was the bottom? I said LSU, just because
LSU.
I just remembered, a couple of recent players, Damian Lewis, Steven Sullivan, Ethan Posick, and I just couldn't think of much for the other schools, and so I went with that one, but I guess I got it wrong.
Yeah, that's Pretty good trick question there. Let's see how the leaderboard goes here. Cameron Hughes staying on top by quite a bit. 900-point lead right here. Almost 900 points. Just run the ball in second. GB drops to third. Sky High Aviation moves up to fourth. And Wampet in fifth place. Let's go to the next question. The Seahawks drafted someone named Andy Reid in the 13th round of the 1976 NFL Draft. True or false? The Seahawks drafted someone named Andy Reid in the 13th round of the 1976 NFL Draft. True or false? Someone named Andy Reid in the 13th round of the 1976 Draft. True or false? Just the way the question was phrased felt like I had to go with true. It was true. 6 of you guys got that correct. Seems like 6 is a magic number in the YouTube side of things. Steezy, you had a 50-50 chance to get to 2.
I'm going to have to start sticking to my gut because I was going to say true, but then last minute I was just like, nah, I think they're trying to trick us. I think Rishi's trying to trick us. So I used reverse psychology. I said false, but I got it wrong.
Just the fact that he said someone named Andy Reid, it was almost like, I'm not saying it's the Andy Reid, I'm just saying it's someone named Andy Reid. Made it feel like he's making it way too much of a possibility here. So, all right, let's see what we got on the leaderboard. Cameron Hughes, no changes there. Cameron Hughes in first, just run the ball second. GB in third, Sky High Aviation in fourth, and Wampet in fifth. Raider Nation climbing up high. Up 8 places. Next question. What was the last year the Seahawks had no Pro Bowlers? 2002, 2009, 2010, or 2000? What was the last year the Seahawks had no Pro Bowlers? 2002, 2009, 2010, or 2000? Again, 2002, 2009, 2010, or 2000. The correct answer was 2010. 5 of you got that one correct. Let's go to Steez. 2010, that was the year we drafted Russell Okung and Earl Thomas. First year with Marshawn Lynch and Pete Carroll joining the Seahawks. Steezy, what'd you get on this one?
I actually got it right. I said 2010 because I just kept thinking about the roster that we had back then, led by Tavares Jackson. We had a Mike Williams. Marshawn Lynch was new to the team. And on defense, I'm not sure Love with the Tupa was still there. I think we had the last remains of Marcus Trufant, but that team was bare of the talent. So I'm going to go with I went with 2010.
All right. So 2 for you there. Let's go to the leaderboard and see where things shake out. Does Cameron Hughes staying on top, still maintaining that now 1,000-point lead, 9,000-point lead. GB moves up to second. In third. Raider Nation in fourth, and just run the ball in fifth. But Cameron Hughes tearing it up so far, making good on his promise. Let's see what happens next. Next question. Who was the Seahawks' leading rusher in Super Bowl 48? Russell Wilson, Robert Turbin, Marshawn Lynch, or Percy Harvin? Can't believe we never asked that question. Who was the Seahawks' leading rusher in Super Bowl 48? Russell Wilson, Robert Turbin, or Marshawn Lynch, or Percy Harvin? Leading rusher in Super Bowl 48. 3 seconds. Time is up. The correct answer was Percy Harvin. All those jet sweeps that he had apparently added up to just enough. 7 of you guys got that one correct. Steezy, what was your recollection? Did you know this one?
I did. I said Percy Harvin just because, no one else really had to run the ball. It was our defense really scoring touchdowns for us. Russell Wilson, he had a couple. And so we just didn't really need to run the ball at all. I said Percy Harvin. I do recall that one jet sweep, I think that went for like 20-plus yards. Or maybe even 30-plus yards.
He had a couple. He had a couple of jet sweeps. The one I think was 20-plus yards, and another one that was maybe a little bit less than that. But just on 2 plays alone, he got like close to 40 yards, 30 to 40 yards in just 2 plays. I wonder what the second leading rusher was. You have any idea?
I would say Turbin, just because if we had a backup running back in there, it would have been Robert Turbin, so he would have been it by default.
Yeah. Yeah, if somebody knows in the chat, put it in there. If you guys look it up, who was the second leading rusher? Would like to know. Was it Lynch or was it Turbin? Like Steezy said, or could have been Russell. I don't think Russell ran that much in that game, so probably not Russell. But Cameron Hughes says Lynch was second with like 30 yards or something. Really that little.
Okay.
It's amazing how little he had in that game, but he almost broke one. That would have been a big one, but they got him caught the tiger by the toe. All right, let's go to the leaderboard, see where we things shake out here. Cameron Hughes is adding to that lead now. 1,400-point lead. Jeez. Raider Nation to second. In third. GB in fourth. And Sky High Aviation back up into fifth. Let's go to the next question. True or false? Neither the Seahawks nor the Broncos could successfully convert a fourth down conversion in Super Bowl 48. True or false? Neither the Seahawks nor the Broncos could successfully convert a fourth down conversion in Super Bowl 48. True or false? Meaning there were no fourth down conversions in Super Bowl 48. True or false? Time is up. That's what I was thinking too. It was true. No conversions on fourth down. Seattle really never had to do it. And I never remembered any plays that the Broncos went for it on fourth down. But Steezy, is that how you remember it?
So what I did remember was a Demaryius Thomas. I think it was a 2-point conversion at the end of a game. I mistook that as a fourth down conversion because I was thinking about that, and so I was just like, "Oh, false," because Denver, they were the ones that were trying to rally back, and so. But then I just remembered, I was like, "Oh no, that was a 2-point."
Yeah, that was the one touchdown. They went for two. Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh man, it was a blunder. No, I got it wrong.
Okay, all right. So you're still stuck at 3. Let's go to the leaderboard. I expect Cameron Hughes to be, it's catching up. Only 600 points behind. Raider Nation in third, 28-3 gets on the board at fourth, and GB at fifth. Wampet is climbing high, 3 places up. All right, next question. And this is, normally I do the last 3 questions as doubles, but Rishi set this up. I think he only had 1 question with a double point answer, so the opportunities to catch up in big margins may not be as available as they normally are. We'll see. Next question. Which of these players was not signed by the Seahawks as an undrafted free agent? Pierre-Olivier Lestage, Brian Mills, Austin Watkins, or B.J. Emmons? Which of these players was not signed by the Seahawks as an undrafted free agent? Pierre-Olivier Lestage, Brian Mills, Austin Watkins, or B.J. Emmons? Which one of these was not signed by the Seahawks as an undrafted free agent? Time is up. Tough going there, but 5 of you got this one correct. Austin Watkins, a name I know nothing, have no memory of. Does Steezy have a memory of this guy named Austin Watkins? What do you say, Steez?
I don't, but I do have memory of all the other guys just because I've been, making videos breaking down some of our undrafted free agents. So I've had to scour lists of all of our guys, and I just don't remember seeing Austin Watkins on any of them.
No, so you got this one. Nice. All right. There you go. So four points for you there, Steezy. And let's go to the scoreboard. Cameron Hughes back on top with back to his 1,000-point cushion. Is on fire with a 5-answer streak, but he's still behind by nearly 1,000 points. 28-3 moves up to third. Raider Nation in fourth, and GB in fifth. Next question. True or false? A majority of the all-time top 5 Seahawks' biggest comebacks have come against NFC teams. True or false? A majority of the all-time top 5 Seahawks' biggest comebacks have come against NFC teams. True or false? A majority of the all-time top 5 biggest comebacks against NFC. True or false? Answer is false. I actually thought that was true myself. False. Interesting. I think we all remember the NFC Championship game, and we think about the Buccaneers game. And of course, he puts a photo of the Buccaneers game just to throw you off. But it is not against NFC teams. Apparently, it's the AFC. So we go to Steezy, sounds like you were like me, going with the NFC. Is that correct?
No, actually, I didn't have. I ran out of time before I could even pick an answer, so I just didn't have an answer.
Okay. All right, no answer. But if I ask you now, well, I guess you already know the answer now. But my guess is probably the reason why it's a trick is because they were in the AFC for so long, right? They were in the AFC for a much longer period, which means that's probably why they got more comebacks than against the AFC, would be my guess. But let's go to the leaderboard, see where things shake out here. Cameron Hughes building on his lead. Oh, man, he's up by 1,700 points now. 58-84 with at 38-77. Raider Nation in third, 28-3 in fourth. And Go Hawks gets on to the top 5 at number 5. Next question. Who caught the game-winning touchdown pass for the Seahawks in the game where the Chiefs linebacker Derek Thomas got 7 sacks? Tommy Kane, Paul Scanzi, Brian Blades, or Lewis Clark? Who caught the game-winning touchdown pass for the Seahawks in the game where Chiefs linebacker Derek Thomas got 7 sacks? Was it Tommy Kane, Paul Scanzi, Brian Blades, or Lewis Clark? Again, who caught the touchdown pass in the game where the Chiefs linebacker got 7 sacks? The correct answer, yes. This one I knew for sure. Paul Scanzi, former UW Husky. Let's go. This is going back to the old days. Steezy, what you got?
I got this one wrong. I was actually thinking about Brian Blades for just a little bit, but then he played in the 90s, right?
Brian Blades was, I believe that's correct. I think it was in the 90s.
And I think Derek Thomas, a majority of his prime was in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. And so I was just like, it can't be Brian Blades, but I didn't recognize the other names, so I went with Tommy Kane.
Okay, yeah, Paul Scanzi, yeah, he was wasn't one of those names that you think of and of making major contributions, but that was a pretty big game, especially coming off of 7 sacks in one. Can you believe that? Can you imagine that? 7 sacks in one game? That's crazy. All right, let's go to the podium here. Cameron Hughes just building killing it here. 2,000-point lead at 63-72. Raider Nation at 43-09. In third, 28-3 in fourth, and Go Hawks in fifth. Cameron Hughes has had a 3-answer streak going. All right, next question. Which Seahawks kicker has the Seahawks record for most field goals made in a season? Olindo Mare, Todd Peterson, John Casey, or Stephen Hauschka? Which Seahawks kicker has the Seahawks record for most field goals made in the season? Olindo Mare, Todd Peterson, John Casey, or Stephen Hauschka? Most field goals made in a season. Mare, Peterson, Casey, or Hauschka? Time is up. Wow, nobody got the correct answer. It was Todd Peterson. Stephen Hauschka was definitely the trap. But I bet if they had Mr. Automatic in there, oh gosh, what am I thinking of? Norm Johnson. That might have changed things. But Todd Peterson, nobody got that one correct. But did Steezy get this one correct? Any chance that you broke the mold, broke the record here? Go against the grain?
As much as I would have liked to, not this time.
Who did you pick?
I went with Olindo Mare. I just knew that it couldn't be Hauschka just because while he was efficient, he didn't have a whole bunch of volume. And so I said it wasn't Hauschka. Peterson, I didn't even know who that was. And then the other dude, John Casey, I didn't even know he played for the Hawks. And so I went with Olindo Mare.
Yeah. Okay, well, tough question there. A good one, though. A good one from Rishi, who did this trivia. Let's go to the leaderboard. Wow, it's just no change there, apparently. All right, we're closing in here towards the final question, so let's do it. Number 12, true or false? The most number of sacks a Seahawks player has had in one game is 4.5 sacks. True or false? The most number of sacks a Seahawks player has had in one game is 4.5 sacks. True or false? 4.5 sacks by a Seahawk. Most. True or false? Time is up. Oh, man. Fooled him again. 13 of you went for the true. It was false. I think it's that 4 point. The fact that he had 4.5 is such a specific number, but didn't work. I want to know what it was, if he knows the right answer. Steezy.
Man, I keep getting all my true false questions mixed up. I said true this time around. I kind of was just like, you know what? I want to go against the field, but let's go with true.
Oh, man. Well, and according to, Rishi says the most is actually 4 sacks. He's the one who made this trivia, so he got that one correct. And Cameron Hughes even answered in the text and agreed. It's 4, isn't it? So, man, he knows his stuff. Man knows his stuff. All right, well, let's go to the final podium. I think it's pretty obvious who's going to be first place here, but let's see who comes up in second and third. In third place, with 5 out of 12, is that's a good name. Second place is Raider Nation. And, of course, number 1 with 63.72, 8 out of 12, Cameron Hughes. Congratulations, Cameron, with runners up 28-3, and Go Hawks in 4th and 5th place, respectively. Nice job, Cameron. You said you're going to kill it, and you did. That was a pretty tough trivia. But to get 8 out of that, I mean, you did pretty good, too, Steezy, considering that the second and third place spots only got 5. So the fact that you got, you got 4, you're hanging in there. You're hanging in there. All right. Well, yep. Well, that was a good contest, I gotta say. Very well done. So, all right, let's go back to, where was I here? All right, there we go. All right, so, well, that wraps up the trivia contest. So congratulations, Cameron Hughes. Well done. And that wraps up our show, actually. Finished early. I guess that's what happens when you only have one guest on the Roundtable. But it was fun, though, man. It was actually fun to just have, a one-on-one with you, Steezy. It's been a while, and, I love your content, and your knowledge is great. So it was awesome to get your thoughts on all these questions that the YouTubers out there had to ask. So I guess before we sign off, one more chance here to just allow you to talk about your channel, anything you got coming up social media wise or videos, whatever's new that's hot and that's dropping. Let everybody know what's up.
Yes, sir. First of all, I just want to say thanks to everybody that tuned in. If you aren't already, for I don't know what reason, or I don't know why you wouldn't be, but definitely subscribe to Big Bro right here. Show some love. NorbCam, at NorbCam. Definitely hit that subscribe. Smash that like. Share this video. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And then as for me, like I said at the beginning of this live stream, Pacquiao and Spence, I have a boxing preview on that. The ramifications of Julio to the Titans. Are they now contenders? I'm going to do a whole bunch of NBA offseason reviews for teams that just got eliminated: Lakers, Blazers, Mavericks. So, yeah, definitely a whole lot coming out on my end. Like I also said at the beginning, I've been using TikTok more, Twitter more. School ends for me next week, and so I have more time to post even more content, but I'm definitely trying to get my following up on those other platforms aside from just YouTube. So if you guys can find me on there at Steezy Smith, that'd be greatly appreciated. Don't forget about at Squabbo Says, at Coach for Life, at Seahawks Martin. And definitely just, show those guys some love, send them a DM, let them know that, tell them to have a good day. Just say what's up, say something, say anything. I'm sure they miss you guys, but thank you to everybody that tuned in. That's it for me.
Yeah, and if you guys have a chance to send, particularly Squabbo and Coach for Life, I think they're both kind of going through some challenges right now. I'm not going to get into specifics, but they could definitely use a nice friendly message. So if you can drop a message or comment over to Coach Marsh at Coach for Life, and Squabbo at Squabbo Says, we all go through some challenging times. We all do, right? Sometimes you have your good days, and sometimes you have bad days, and those guys are going through some stuff right now. And I know that they'll be back, and they'll get through it. But it always helps to have some people send some friendly thoughts. So we'd greatly appreciate that. I know they'd appreciate it. So. But I appreciate you, Steezy, for being on here, man. Thank you for taking the time, as always, to be on here. And I love what you're doing with the channel, man. It's proud of what you're accomplishing, man. It's really great to see how much you've grown in just this past year. So keep up the good work.
I mean, a lot of y'all got to credit and I got to attribute it to you, Norv. I mean, you're one of the biggest reasons why why I even have a YouTube channel to begin with. And so, all these weekly live streams and everything, that just helps tremendously. I mean, I remember just doing all this without even having had a channel back then. And so I'm just glad that I was able to do it sooner rather than later. And yeah, I still have so much more room to grow, so much more to learn, so much more game to soak up. And, you've been an integral piece of that so far. So for that, all the love in the world.
Yeah. No, mutual respect, man. I always remember that day when I first met you over at Green River, when Squabo invited me over to be part of your guys' show, and you were there. Met you for the first time, and at that time you weren't doing any of this stuff, and to see how much you've gone, it's awesome. It's really great. So I'm excited to see where this takes you. It's really cool to watch you on your journey. So. All right. So thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Make sure you sub up Steezy as well as all the rest of the members of the Roundtable. We'll be back next week, hopefully. And for now, that's it. We'll talk to you guys all later. Go Hawks.